everybody, welcome to Global Muscle Hot News. I say global because I'm here in the US of A, and right over here is my mate, Giles Thomas, over in the UK. What's up, Bo?
Hello, how are you?
Now, we do hot news when things are breaking news, and on Sunday, which was the day before April Fool's Day here in the US, when particularly people like to play pranks and give out fake news, but this came one day early, Dave Palumbo did a video called Big Ramy Update, his next show, exclamation point. Everyone clicked on it. I was like, oh boy, now we finally get the answer. What's Big Ramy's next show? And in the video, Dave went on to say that it is the New York Pro. I'm here to tell you guys, it is not. It is definitely not going to be the New York Pro. Not. So the first thing I did this morning was I texted Steve Weinberger and said, Steve, have you got any confirmation from Ramy as to doing the show? He said, no, not yet. I said, okay. Let me get a hold of Flex Lewis, who is a good friend of Ramy's new trainer, Neil Hill. And he got back to me with the answer directly from Neil, saying Ramy is definitely not doing New York Pro because it falls during Ramadan. He is a devout Muslim. Ramadan is a time of fasting for Muslims. It takes place from, I wrote this down somewhere, May 5th through June 4th. The New York Pro is May 18th. So during all sunlight hours, Muslims cannot eat anything. They have to fast. It's a very important part of their religion. So definitely not doing New York Pro. He said, Neil, in the message, which I'm not going to play, I don't have permission to replay the voice message. He said he gave Ramy a choice of 3 other shows, and Ramy has not yet responded. Just so you guys know, these are all the shows left to qualify after that. Obviously, the beginning of June is Toronto. He can't do that. That's still Ramadan. So the first possibility would be Battle of Britain, which is London, Giles?
Yes, June the 30th in Watford. It's classed as North London, but that's June the 30th.
Okay, so that's one possibility. In July, we have Chicago Pro on the 6th, Vancouver Pro on the 13th, the Portugal Pro on the 21st, and on the 27th, the George Farah Classic in Beirut, Lebanon. And then the final show to qualify is August 3rd, Tampa, Florida, which I'm going to. I'd be freaking thrilled if he picks that one to do.
Yeah.
We're not going to say we know because we don't know. Nobody knows right now which show he's doing. But if you had to guess in your heart of hearts, Giles, if you were Ramy, which show would you pick?
Is Lebanon an open show?
Yes, it is.
Oh, right. Okay. I wasn't even aware of this show. Well, it's probably going to be that one because it's the Middle East, isn't it? So it's probably going to be, geographically, it's going to be the easiest one for him to get to and no time changes. I'd love to see him come over do the UK one. I mean, that'd be absolutely amazing. I mean, Ramy, if you're watching, you're more than welcome to come over, mate. We'll make you very welcome in the UK. Luke Sandow's just pulled out of the British Grand Prix. So, I think the toughest competition you'll have to go up against will be Nathan D'Asha. So that I would love to see those two go at it. Nathan D'Asha and obviously all the Brits, and I've heard rumours that some other overseas pros. Steve Kukla was down to do it, but I think now because he's won the Indy, I don't see him doing it.
Yeah, he's all set.
Yeah. Cedric seems to pop up at these shows. Remember, he did Toronto last year.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll just jump in one of these shows on his route to the Olympia. Yeah. But I would probably say that Lebanon's probably the most likely. Plus, I remember going to see Kamal. Remember last summer I did episode 20 of Muscle News Weekly, and Kamal was my co-host. And Ramadan, he said it's tough. I mean, and the thing is, that's a guy who competes at 205 pounds. Ramy competes at 305 pounds.
Something ridiculous. Hopefully with Neil Hill, he'll be under 300 pounds. I'd like to see him like 270, just shredded and dry and crispy.
You see my point, and I think obviously, so my point is, for guys that big, it's going to be torture. I mean, I didn't even realize he actually did Ramadan properly. Mm-hmm. That's tough. That's going to be really, really tough on him. I mean, that's going to cut into either his off season or his very, very early prep. So I don't see how did he do the New York Pro when he won it those 2 times, 2013 and 14? How did he do it?
I did hear. I'm not sure where I don't have the source right in front of me, but I know I did hear that what he would do is just reverse his schedule and try to sleep as much during the daylight hours as possible, and he'd be up literally all night and try to turn the day into his night so he could get more meals in, because with bodybuilding, it's really all about the meals and the food. You can't go, I don't know, I'm not sure how much daylight there is right now in Dubai is where he is, but here it's daylight here from about 6:30 in the morning till about 7 o'clock at night. So it's about 12 hours. That's a long time to go without eating for a bodybuilder. My goodness,
Well, it didn't affect him though, did it? Because I think the two New York pros he won, I think was some of the best condition he's ever achieved. In fact, I don't think he's ever actually really nailed it at the Olympia. I mean, 2017 he was second, he looked good there, but I mean that was his only time he's really nailed it at the Olympia. Yeah. The Ramadan clearly hasn't affected him. It's just given him more obstacles to face, which he's clearly overcome. So yeah.
So people were talking about, well, he wouldn't do this show because it's not prestigious enough. Or at this point, he just needs to qualify for the Olympia. It's all about the Olympia. So I don't think he cares. It doesn't matter which show he does. He just needs to win a show. And like you said, Lebanon and Dubai are geographically, it's got to be a pretty quick train trip. A train, yeah, I'm sure. Airline flight. Yeah, I don't think people don't take trains that much anymore.
Private jet.
Quick flight, no time change, same language. And let's be honest, I hope George gets an awesome lineup for this first year pro show, but it puts people off if they have to travel very, very, very far. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of top American talent heading over to Beirut, Lebanon, unless they really, really need to qualify for the Olympia, and that's, they don't have any other options. I hope George gets a great lineup, but it is a very, very, very distant trip.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Ramy is, like you said, it doesn't really matter what show he does. He just needs to qualify, because obviously last year the Olympia really was disastrous for him. I mean, I know he looked good on the Saturday, but by then it was too late. I mean, he was sixth place at the Olympia last year. I mean, was it sixth or seventh? Sixth. Dexter was seventh. Nathan was eighth. Okay. Yeah, sixth place. That is, for the guy that was the runner-up the year before, and and there's so much hype and just such a big fan base. That was disastrous. So he's really just got to literally just focus on doing any show to qualify just to get to the Olympia, because he needs to. I mean, really, he's got to look back to. I think that's the whole reason he's gone for a different coach and a completely different approach. But he really needs to climb back up this year. So qualification should be his only focus.
Yeah, and I mean, based on that footage that was in the video, which was shot by his new sponsor, Dragon Pharma.
That's easy. Best one.
It was very evident that he was not in prep mode, and we're at 7 weeks. I think it's 7 weeks now from New York. Any self-respecting pro hoping to win the show, because you can't just place now. He can't win on points. He needs to win a show. I don't see Ramy doing multiple shows to get to the Olympia. He wants to make it one and done, and he is at that level where if he's in shape, he should win just about every other show except for the Arnold and the Olympia, right? I mean, New York Pro, the second time he won it, he was about 85%, and it was still a knockout. The other guys had no chance. So, yeah, I mean, you couldn't see, it wasn't like he was in posing trunks or anything, but it was evident he wasn't 7 weeks out from a show. So, just to reiterate, rumor, fake news, he is not doing the New York Pro. Anyone who is a Muslim or knows the Muslim religion would know that the season of Ramadan is taking place throughout that whole, what would have been the middle of his prep, or the end of his prep, which is, you don't want to be spending 12 or more hours a day fasting when you're trying to win a bodybuilding contest. So,
well, the last show he did was the one I saw, and me and Rosie covered it for MD, was the Arnold Europe, the 2017, right before the split happened. Well, actually, whilst the split, but it was still Pro League. And that he beat Bonac. And Bonac, I'd have had no arguments with Bonac winning the Olympia that year. So he was really, and he looked a lot better than he did at Olympia. The condition and the separation was a lot better. Sorry, cat's at the window. But yeah, I actually said last week when we were filming Global Muscle, that Dragon Pharma chest training video, I'm going to play it at the end of this, went up. I said to AJ, I said, look, there's no way he is in prep. I said, one thing, he looks too small for him. I mean, he's gigantic. And you could see when he was doing the crossovers. I mean, watch the video at the end and put your comments or whatever on the YouTube. You could see nothing was really. He didn't even look like he was in a good off season. So he didn't look sharp and he didn't look big. And at this point out, I said to AJ, I said, "There's no way he's doing the New York Pro." So when I found that out, from yourself, I mean, that was no surprise to me.
Yeah. And that would make perfect sense if he is doing one of these later shows in July or August, because right now you wouldn't want to be, at your biggest. You wouldn't want to be doing all the things that need to be done to be at your biggest and hardest. You want to save that because you can only put the body through so much. You want to save that for the final push, which I assume, Neil's a very smart guy. Ramy's been doing this a while. He knows what he's doing too. So I'm sure they have a strategy. I'm excited because I did that interview with De La Rosa a couple of weeks ago, who is being trained and coached by Neil Hill as well.
Okay.
And he's finally seeing, Jonathan, the knock on Jonathan I've always had. I love his physique. We both have raved about his physique, but I've always wanted to see more detail, more maturity, more separation in the muscles. And he says
everything. It was like he was in 2014 when he won the Europa show. Right. Everything was like granite, and then after that, I've always been disappointed with John. And like I'm like you, I'm a big John De La Rosa fan, but like after last year, I just thought this is 3-4 years on the trot. This guy ain't getting it right. I'm kind of writing him off a bit now. But obviously now I saw your run line about the divorce and everything, and it kind of all makes sense. And if he's now with Neil Hill, Neil will make sure that because I think the differences in his physique that caused that were pharmaceutical to get that lack of separation and blurriness. We know what causes it, and I think obviously Neil will be addressing all those issues, and he'll know exactly how to get him back to the quality he had in 2014 when he was winning shows. And
Nathan, in your interview that you did with him for MD Global Muscle Radio, he did say that in his observations of Ramy training, he never felt Ramy was training quite as hard, quite as heavy, wasn't really pushing himself to the limit like he could. And now with Neil, Neil's been spending a lot of time out of the country personally training him, supervising him and making sure. And Neil is a taskmaster. I've seen him train.
Neil.
Yeah, you train with him, and I've seen the videos with him and Flex, and it's brutal. I mean, you see, I don't know. Flex is a unique specimen anyway, but Bonac, they both have amazing muscle density, detail. I can't help but think the training plays a big role in that, not just the pharmaceuticals and diet and genetics too.
It does, because I remember when at the end of 2008, when Zach Khan had slipped down after loads of second place at the British Finals to fourth, he came in like ridiculously big, got fourth, and I rang him and I said, look, and so basically, long story short, I hooked him up with Neil Hill because I knew Neil would be able to get him in condition to get him his pro card. And Zach used to drive down from Sheffield to Tenby, and if you look on the map, that is pretty much the length of England. I mean, it's like a 250 mile each way. It was ridiculous. And he would drive down every couple of weeks just to train legs in the dungeon with Neil. So you're not going to be traveling all that way unless there's going to be something special in those sessions. Right. So
Zach's legs did come way up, I remember.
Yeah, and it's not just about the intensity and screaming and shouting and pushing them. It's about the quality training. Look, like you just said there, like Flex Lewis and William Bonac are very, very well put together physiques, and the quality of every single part of their body, it's very consistent. So if he could do that with Ramy, because I know what Neil, like we know the structural problems with Ramy. The waist is too wide from the front. The legs lack separation. The lower body needs to be more in balance with the hamstrings, the glutes, the calves, and even the upper body. And when I heard that he was going to be prepping with Neil, I just thought, well, if there's anyone that can bring that physique into balance and really bring out the best in Ramy, it's going to be Neil. So it's very excited to see what's gonna happen. So I'm predicting it'll be Lebanon, mate.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's a very good bet. We'll find out soon enough, I guess. But this was supposed to be a quick news item.
Sorry.
No, it's me too. I start rambling. But we needed to get that info out there because I did some journalism, some investigative reporting this morning around my workout, believe it or not, and confirmed that he is definitely not in the New York Pro. And the main reason, again, is due to his religious beliefs. And he's a devout Muslim, and due to Ramadan, he does need to fast during that period. So that's all. Giles, thank you. This was very short notice, as you know, a breaking news item has to be, right? So, thanks everybody for watching. Giles Thomas, Ron Harris for Hot News, Global Muscle Hot News.